Good evening, Tucson. This is 5 on 20 News with Jamain, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It is Monday, January 15th. Let's talk local headlines. I'm so happy to be here at Creative Tucson right now at Brink Studios. It's amazing. So in local headlines, the University of Arizona's 3-time national Coach of the Year winner, Kevin Sumlin, is going to be leading the football team. Sumlin replaces outgoing coach Rich Rodriguez, who was fired after several sexual harassment allegations. Rodriguez denied the accusations, but did admit to an extramarital affair, which was revealed by one of his accusers. Sumlin comes to Arizona after serving 6 seasons as coach of Texas A&M University. He also served as the head coach at the University of Houston for 10 seasons, playing in bowl games in 9 of his 10 seasons. His contract will be revealed Tuesday at a press conference. The Arizona Board of Regents still needs to approve the contract before Sumlin officially takes over. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey released his 2019 fiscal year budget on Friday. The $10.1 billion budget focuses on adding education funding in the state, including an immediate $100 million infusion to the state's K-12 schools. Over 80% of new general fund spending is targeted for education in the state, totaling about $400 million for public schools. The budget also caps payments to private operators of charter schools in Arizona in order to promote additional dollars to public education. In addition to education funding, the budget also provides over $15 million to fund the record increase in adoptions. It also provides over $2 million to the Department of Corrections for its Second Chance program. The program looks to reduce prison recidivism, I hope that's right, by providing expanded substance abuse, educational, and employment-centered services. Finally, the budget provides $15 million in tax relief to Arizona veterans who receive retirement benefits. The funding phased in over 2 years. Okay. While superintendents and many educational leaders applauded the budget, some felt it didn't go far enough. The group Count Arizona Schools Now said that the funding raise still puts Arizona $950 million below 2008 levels. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee pointed out that Arizona is now investing $924 less per student than they did a decade ago when adjusted for inflation. Okay. The Scottsdale City Council voted to send a letter asking the Arizona legislature to update non-discrimination laws to protect sexual orientation and gender identity rights in the workplace. The Scottsdale Independent reported that besides ethical reasons, the city is looking to attract top workforce talent. The City Council is asking that the legislature provide clarity since gay and transgender people are not currently protected from being fired for their sexual orientation. The groups are also not protected from housing discrimination or from businesses in the state. Similarly, the cities of Tucson, Phoenix, Tempe, and Flagstaff will all instituted their own non-discrimination laws. A bill introduced by Arizona Senator John Kavanaugh would reduce the amount of time a homeowners association must wait before foreclosing on a member. Senate Bill 1080 would require HOAs to wait 6 months before they can foreclose on a tenant. Current law requires HOAs to wait 1 year to foreclose unless the debt owed exceeds $1,200. SB 1080 would also have no minimum debt standard. So conceivably, a tenant can owe $20 and still be foreclosed if payments are falling behind by 6 months. It's unclear how many people the law would affect if passed. The Arizona Republic reported that 3,000 homes were foreclosed upon over the past 3 years. Attorney Robert Newman Jr. said that the law would likely lead to more HOA-led foreclosures in the state, but Kavanaugh says that the bill protects HOAs from people who don't pay their dues. After groups protested the bill, Kavanaugh limited the scope of the law to only include smaller HOAs. However, he didn't define what a smaller HOA includes. The bill needs to be voted on by the committee, so it will likely see amendments before it's submitted for a vote. Oh, this is fun. I like reading. Arizona State Senator Warren Peterson sponsored a bill that would allow residents to pay their taxes using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. The bill reads that the Department of the Treasury shall convert cryptocurrency payments to United States dollars at the prevailing rate within 24 hours after receipt, and shall credit the taxpayer's account with the converted dollar amount. The bill introduced on January 10th was postponed by Senator David Farnsworth and state reps. Travis Gretham and Jeff Winninger. It has been referred to as the Arizona State Rules. It has been referred to the Arizona State Rules Committee for further review. New Hampshire passed a similar law in 2016, but was vetoed after lawmakers expressed concerns about Bitcoin's volatility. Mudslides in California have claimed 20 lives so far and closed down Highway 101 on Sunday. The highway, used by up to 70,000 vehicles per day, will be closed indefinitely as road crews work 12-hour shifts to clean boulders and other debris. The Transportation Department said that the road crews were encountering a massive amount of water on the water, but should be able to speed up cleanup once the water resides. Mudslides began in Santa Barbara County on Tuesday, less than a month after the state's largest wildfire on record. The current conditions were a result of the wildfires, which left huge amounts of charred lands that were left vulnerable to forming mudslides. Heavy rains came down early Tuesday, quickly developing into powerful mudslides. Power failures affected more than 6,000 homes and businesses in the area, and many parts of Montecito were without drinkable water. The previous Sunday, county officials issued a mandatory evacuation order, but most chose to stay in their homes. In addition to 20 deaths, the mudslides have so far destroyed 65 homes and damaged hundreds more. 6 people are still missing as of this morning, and 2,100 personnel from local, state, and federal agencies continue to search under debris. Corporations like Apple could dodge billions in U.S. taxes through a loophole in the recently passed Republican tax reform bill. The loophole concerns profits stashed overseas, which corporations can now bring back under the reform bill and at discounted tax rates. The one-time tax break on the $2.6 billion in profit would receive rates of 15% for cash holdings and 8% for investments that are not liquid, meaning they cannot be easily turned into cash. According to Stephen Shea, a senior lecturer at Harvard Law School, corporations can use these rates to save themselves billions of dollars through a loophole. He claims that corporations can turn cash into non-cash holdings, therefore getting the lower 8% tax rate. These non-cash holdings include dividends given out to investors. Shea estimated that Apple is holding as much as $289 billion in foreign cash as of the end of last fiscal year. To avoid paying the 15% tax, Apple could distribute some of its cash through dividends, which would save the company $4 billion in taxes. Shea called the loophole clearly a result of rushed legislation. Republicans were criticized for quickly pushing through the tax plan with minimal input from Democrats. The plan lowered tax rates for corporations and the highest paid individuals, while also offering tax breaks for the middle class. All told, the bill will raise the national debt by an estimated $1.5 trillion. A debt collection firm connected with Education Secretary Betsy DeVos was one of two companies chosen to collect overdue student loans. Paramount, maybe? Yeah, Paramount. Paramount Financial Corp was chosen along with Wyndham Professionals. See, if I would have worn my contacts today, I'd have been fine. If I wore my glasses. That's just excuses. I'm just making excuses, really. I shouldn't be making excuses. The small number of firms is unusual because the education department usually chose up to 17 firms to collect the payments. DeVos invested in Paramount before she was named education secretary. She had to divest from the investment 90 days before she was confirmed for the post. Critics have raised the issue of DeVos' connections to the company, along with the small number of companies chosen. However, the head of investor relations at Paramount said that the corporation has never had any direct or indirect contact with Secretary DeVos or anyone related to Ms. DeVos. In response to only two companies chosen for the petition, the Education Department said the companies chosen were the most advantageous to the government. The U.S. may cut $60 to $125 million from the UN Relief and Works Agency, which provides support for Palestinian refugees, according to the Associated Press. The Trump administration has not made a decision, but is expected to announce whether they'll make the cuts on Tuesday. Secretary of Defense James Mattis and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reportedly support the decision to cut the aid package. Trump tweeted earlier this month that we pay the Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars a year and get no appreciation or respect. The UN Relief and Works Agency was created after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War to help displaced Palestinians. The agency receives funding from UN member states. Turkey is criticizing a U.S. plan to create a force of militants, which they're calling a security fence on the Turkish-Syrian border. The U.S. announced today that they would create a force of about 30,000 personnel over the next several years to protect the Turkish border in the north and the Iraqi border in the east. About half of the fighters are Kurdish members of the Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF. Turkish President Recep Erdogan says it will suffocate efforts to help members of the SDF. The group is composed of Kurds who Turkey considers to be a terrorist group. The U.S. is considering reinstating CIA funding to the SDF in order to fight ISIS in Syria. Syria's government also criticized the plan, along with Russia, who says that it could lead to a partition of the country. The SDF has so far captured tens of thousands of square miles from ISIS with help from U.S. airstrikes. In October, the alliance took full control of Raqqa, which was formerly considered the capital of ISIS in Syria. Earlier today, Erdogan said that the U.S. plan was an attempt to create terror on the border. Thousands of inmates in Florida state prisons began a work strike today in coordination with Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Prisoners from at least 10 Florida prisons are protesting overcrowding, brutal living conditions, and working for no or little pay. One of the targets of the protest is the Prison Rehabilitative Rehabilitative Industries and Diversified Enterprises, or PRIDE. PRIDE is a nonprofit organization that trains inmates and puts them to work while paying prisoners 55 cents an hour. Prisoners are refusing to show up for work assignments and buying items at the prison commissary for the protest, which they say will last at least a month or until conditions are improved. Organizers of the protest say that not being sufficiently paid makes it difficult for them to reenter society upon release. Florida's current policy gives freed inmates $50 and a bus ticket, which inmates say is insufficient. They also say that Florida prisons engage in price gouging at prison commissaries. One inmate gave an example that it costs $17 to buy a case of soup that would normally cost $4. Inmates are also demanding the reintegration of parole for inmates serving life sentences, the restoration of voting rights for released prisoners, and an end to the death penalty. The protest comes after 97,000 prisoners were put on lockdown for 4 days in August when inmates rallied for the Millions for Prisoners Human Rights March, which took place in Washington, D.C. Okay, that was great. This was fun. I'm so happy I did this. And you should come down too. This right here was 5 on 20 News with Jamain. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube account. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all the latest Creative Tucson news and content. And you can also contact us at info@creativetucson.org. So enjoy your Monday, enjoy your week, and stay creative, Tucson.